Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This one was a wild ride. So I'm gonna review 28 Years Later. I saw the first one, I believe it was about a couple months ago, and the second one a few weeks ago. So I've sort of paced myself getting ready for this one, and I had a lot of anticipation for it. I was definitely hyped, and I'm hearing that so many people are sort of have these mixed feelings about it. Granted, the movie did have a lot of tones and types of storylines that it didn't really show in the trailer. So for people who are saying the trailers are misleading, I can kind of understand that. However, I still think that this movie was incredibly interesting. There's a lot of neat shots. There's some really good stories, some good acting. So overall, I still really enjoyed it. The marketing, yeah, was a little off, but overall, I am satisfied with what we got for the final version of 28 Years Later. So let's sort of pick up. They sort of recap, almost not retconning um, the last movie, but it is just still contained. It's not really spread all over the world like 28 weeks later suggested it might be happening. So it very much is still contained. We get this sort of eerie opening of a bunch of children in this home where as people are becoming infected, the children end up being killed as well. They don't show it. It happens sort of off screen. But there is this kid, a survivor, in this opening that runs to his dad, who is at this church, who says this is just, this is God's will, basically. And so we have this kid that's just seeing all this carnage and death and destruction around him, and it cuts after the scene he does survive. But that's sort of the last we see of him for pretty much a majority of the movie. So after this opening, we skip to 28 years later, and we have this island with this family and all these villagers, and this is very much an honor system of how they, sort of divide resources. They have a shop that says just take what you need. It's very limited supplies, but this island, these people, they make it work. And we have Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I still think is just kind of amusing to me that Sony went forward with two movies back to back where he's the lead because of all of the sort of, let's just say, not the best performance as Kraven the Hunter. But I think he did a really good job in this movie. And we have Jamie, we have his wife Isla, and his son Spike. This is sort of our central family for this movie, and they are pretty much the main characters. So in sort of the first part of the movie, Spike is 12. He's come of age to go to the mainland. The villagers think he's a little young, but Jamie is sure that he's ready. And before they leave to go to the mainland, they visit, his mother, and she's sick, and they have no idea what's wrong with her. And this is sort of like a sort of prepping the storyline for later, where we just see she's sick, and then she's sort of forgotten about for almost the first third of the movie, I guess I would say. Because after they visit her for pretty much one scene, Jamie and Spike go for the mainland. So they have this big gate where they're saying, hey, you leave, but you can't come back. Or you can come back, but no one's going to look for you if you don't come back. So it's this very intense situation. This is basically Spike becoming a man, basically, is how it's treated. And so there's this bridge that they can only cross when it's low tide. The water will completely cover it up. This keeps the infected out, but they can only cross a certain time of day. So Jamie and Spike go to the mainland because Spike's ready to hunt the infected for the first time. And he ends up killing one of these fat ones that are just on the ground. They pretty much just crawl, and then they get chased by fast ones, and they end up having to hunker down or they go to this bunker, this home, and they sort of have a base for the night. They're running because the fast ones also were following an alpha. So between the fat ones, the alpha, and the runners, there's sort of these three different categories of infected. So we have seen that they're sort of evolving into these different kinds of infected. And I think it's just building up the lore behind the world of the 28 Days, Weeks, Years series. So I thought that detail, or that progression of detail, I thought was interesting because it does sort of build the world a little bit more. And so as they're in this house, sort of just waiting it out for the night, Spike sees a fire, and James like, oh yeah, that's just, I have no idea what that is. And as things start happening, they end up leaving the house, running back to their island, which the Alpha chases them and nearly gets them, but the Alpha doesn't get to them. So they get into the city, and there's this big parade for Spike where Jamie is hyping him up as this hero who just killed and shot everything when he missed half the time. So Spike just feels like he's lying. And then his grandfather, Sam, when he goes back home to check on his mother, because he saw his father with another woman, because his wife is sick and ill, so I guess he thinks it's okay. There's just a lot of family drama going on. But Spike goes back home to check on his mother, when his grandfather tells him, yeah, that fire was probably a doctor in Kelson. He was a doctor, but he's insane, and your father doesn't talk about it, so that's all I'm going to say about it. And so his interest is piqued. There's a doctor that could help his mother, so now he's interested. And so he stays with his mother for the night. Jamie comes back next morning, and he and Spike just have this big argument. Jamie tells Spike a little bit more about the doctor, how he had all these bodies lined up, and just basically gives him the story of why everyone in the village believes he is insane. Spike just doesn't care. He's taken it as face value. There is a doctor, his mom's sick, that's it. That's all he needs to know. So he sort of fakes a fire in the city so he can get his mom out of the village. And he's crossing the low tide. And this is, I believe, I would consider the second half of the movie. I think it's about, it feels like it's at the halfway point. I could be wrong, but that's how it felt. So he's with his dad for, I think, like the first half of the movie. And now he's with his mom, because when he and his mom leave the village, Jamie has like one scene in the rest of the movie. So he's sort of, that's his half of screen time for the film. And as he and his mom are sort of traversing, there's all kinds of wacky stuff going on. They're chased, he kills some things, they get to this gas station, and we get this sort of this cutaway where there are these soldiers that are being chased by the infected, and there's one survivor. And the survivor ends up finding Spike and his mother, Isla, and saves them. So now there's a group of 3 running around. But what's interesting is we get more lore building, I would say, because as they come across this train, they find this pregnant infected about to give birth. And Isla is just, she just decides to help out. For whatever reason, she decides to do that. She decides to help out. And infected is sort of allowing them to help. So the baby is born, and the baby is not infected. So the infected can birth regular people. But of course, the infected would just probably bite the baby, and they become infected. So basically, when this infected gives birth, the mother's killed by this soldier, and now they have a baby. So as the soldier, Eric, basically says, hey, this baby's got to go. It's a zombie baby. Got to kill it. The Alpha shows up to kill Eric. And as they're sort of running from the train, Ian Kelson, he finally shows up to sort of neutralize the Alpha. And with Eric's head, they escape. And the reason I say Kelson takes Eric's head is because that sort of goes for the next part of the story. So as they get to this bone temple, as we saw in the trailers and as the marketing was calling it, there's the skeletons of all these people that have died, and that is what Kelson did with all those bodies. He's building a monument for them so we can remember that they were all alive. The infected, the humans, you see all their skeletons are all the same. So sort of it resembles the we're all just human sort of aspect. So I thought this sequence in the movie was pretty interesting. And he has this complicated process that I don't know the terms to explain it, but he basically melts down Eric's head to just a skull until Spike here, let's find a place for him. So it's sort of like just respecting that he was a human being. And the reason this part of the story matters is because as they found this doctor now, he's able to diagnose his mother and say, yeah, she's got cancer, she's not surviving. And Spike sort of just freaks out because he was expecting the doctor to give him a cure-all solution so he can have his mom back and go back home with Jamie and be a family again. But that's not the reality he's facing at all. And so Isla basically agrees, hey, there's different kinds of deaths, but living in love, as Kelson puts it, is a better death than the gruesome ones. So they neutralize Spike. He fires his dart, I guess it just sort of calms him down so he can't just go fight Dr. Kelson. So Spike is handed the baby while Kelson goes kill Isla because it was her choice, because she wants to go peacefully instead of being, just losing herself and just dying in this uncomfortable way. So, of course, in this dramatic sequence, her head is melted down to the skull so Spike can find a place for it. And this is sort of almost at the end of the movie. After this, the Alpha shows up, but doesn't get them. He's neutralized again. And basically, this is Kelso's way of saying, Spike, you and the baby got to go now for your safety. And the baby's not going to survive here anyway. He needs, the baby needs, or she, the girl, she needs the village. She needs milk. She needs food. She can't survive with Spike in the wilderness. And so Spike goes to take the baby home, but he doesn't stay. This is Jamie's only scene, is there's a note where the baby's name is Isla. Basically, it's Spike's goodbye letter to his dad saying, I'll be fine. That's basically what it's saying. And so Jamie goes out, but it's high tide now, so he can't really traverse the water. And this is his last scene, just crying out for Spike, because he wants his son back. But that's not the reality he gets to have. So as we see Spike sort of surviving in the wilderness, he sort of is encountered by more infected, and there's this guy that shows up with these I guess these other people with him in kind of tracksuits, and they tell Spike, hey, can we help you out? And he's like, sure. And they have these crazy ways of throwing poles into the infected and tying them up, and these dramatic chains to get their heads off. It's just this chaotic, crazy, loud punk music, very tonal shift kind of scene. So a lot of people are, I think, divided on the ending, because it is a little dramatically different as far as the tone is concerned from the rest of the movie. But this guy that's helping him, this is the kid that survived in the opening of the movie. So now we have two characters from two separate worlds are now aligned. And I think this could transfer into the apparently 2 more movies they're doing, which they could have characters from 28 days or 28 weeks later. Who knows? But these two characters are teamed up now. And so, to me, the way I interpret the scene of this chaotic, infected takedown is these guys are taking them down quickly and effectively without guns or arrows. So, there's basically these people don't need ammunition to take them down, and they're really good at taking them down. So, I feel like 20 days and weeks and years, it's all about the characters surviving the infected. These are the first guys that take the fight to the infected and win. So I think this could create more action-packed sequences in, I guess, the next couple of sequels moving forward. So I hope they do come back. I hope that Spike learns to fight this way, and we just get this interesting group of people. I feel like it could create a lot more action sequences in the next one, and I hope that's what they do with it. Because other than that, it would make the scene sort of kind of useless if they just ignore these characters altogether. So we do have our survivors. We have characters that died. Overall, there were high stakes for this movie. They build the lore. But with all the drama going on between the human characters, this was more of a dramatic, emotional story than a straight-up just action-packed zombie movie. So I could see where people were expecting more just face value zombie flick, but that's not what this was. I think it was really interesting though, because I think in a world like this, especially for a franchise that's lasted this long, I think the world building and the character building was absolutely necessary, especially if you're going to do 2 more movies. This gave us a chance to really connect with these characters. So if there's a lot more action in the next one, we already have established our trust and faith in these characters now, so that they don't have to spend time doing it later in some epic conclusion. So overall, I was very satisfied with the version we got for this movie. I thought it was great. I loved it. I'm glad I watched the other 2 movies to get ready for this one, and I can't wait for the next one. So thank you guys for watching my review of 28 Years Later. Keep it digging, guys. I'll see you next time. Can't wait to review more movies to show you guys.